G'day and welcome to the Tinder Project, the podcast where a straight Aussie man attempts to survive 365 days dating online as an American woman. I'm your host, Mark Rosenfeld, Australia's dating coach for women. I'm here with my sidekick, self-love coach, Teal, Elisabeth, and together we have one mission: to make meeting good men fun and easy for you. Let's give it a whirl. Can I survive 365 days dating online as a woman? What is the best first date location or locations that are out there? And why might you consistently attract men that you're not interested in, but struggle to magnetize any for whom you are? This is the Tinder Project. It's fantastic to have you here. And I want to welcome my amazing co-host and sidekick, Teal Elisabeth. How are you today, you incredible woman?
Oh, I'm doing good. Just being a super mom today feels like every day's a battle and a challenge, but we're having fun.
I'm glad you're getting through it. I'm glad you're getting through it. You had a bit of drama on the weekend. Everything is fine now, but there was a little bit of a Saturday night injury to the young one. He is good though. He's okay. Are we
Yep,
hearing that?
the ER took care of him and patched up his boo-boo, but it was definitely a scary moment for us,
Ooh,
but it's all
okay.
good.
He
It's
had
all
a fight
good.
with a cinder block, guys, but he lost the battle but won the war. So we're all good.
So Mark, you have to fill us in. How have things been going? I can't
It's
wait to hear.
We are continuing. We're past 30 days in now. So I've got some interesting results coming up for you next week where we actually compare Bumble and Match for the same profile, same everything, same person doing it, same personality. I'm going to take you through a journey next week on Bumble versus Match and some fascinating results that I didn't expect from comparing the two in a slightly more mature age group. Um,
Mm.
for this week, however, I wanted to do a little segment just honoring some of the good guys.
Oh, see, this is why I love that we're doing this. We get to remind people that there are so many good men online. And you had a whole term for it, right? What do you
Some of the
call
good ones.
it
We're
again?
calling it cyber chivalry.
I love it.
I definitely came up with that. No one else helped me come up with that term. It's cyber chivalry. And in this segment, we want to honor some of the good uns who are online. Some little small, like it probably was a blip on the radar to them, but these guys stood out in their own little way this week. So for those who are viewing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen. For those who are listening, I'm going to tell you exactly who were our cyber chivalries of the week. Let me go ahead and bring them up here. I wanted to start with a couple of extremely simple ones. And this is a shout out to the men who have a great opening message, or even just a simple, effortful opening message. This guy, I believe his name was Stephen. Stephen, very simple opener. He said, "Hi, name. Your profile was very well written and enjoyed to read. I'd love to hear more about the performing arts classes you're taking." He clearly read her profile. I'm a big fan of urban hiking around location as well. And that was it. Very simple. Asked to know more about her, clearly read her profile. Shout out to you, Stephen. You're one of our cyber chivalries for the week.
Can I ask a quick question? Why would you say that that was chivalrous?
Because he read the profile and he put in effort and he clearly
Mm.
asked for more information from her. So he was basically saying, look, and look, Teal, was it the best opening message I've ever received? Absolutely not. These first couple are just little ones. This one's even more simple on the screen here. Little examples of guys who are saying, hey, I like what I've seen. I'd like to get to know you a bit more.
Actually giving a shit.
It's your chance to shine. That's the guy saying it. Often, like I've had some that have been the most incredible opening messages you've seen, but actually they don't always necessarily manifest in, let's say, the best phone conversations. Sometimes a guy really knows how to text straight off the bat and he actually falls away a little bit with the opener. So some of these simple ones, I've got a second one on the screen here. Shout out to, I think this guy's name was Dave. He said, hello there, Samantha. That was the name of the profile I was on. He's clearly read her profile. We've put legal government, and he's just said, what does someone who is legal at government actually do? Very simple. Again, this isn't the most spectacular message, guys, but it's the simple things. Asking a question so that you're invested in the person to learn more about them. That's the start of getting to know each other. That's
Mhm.
great. Now, I also want to share a little bit, bit of a shout out to two other men who were great in the process. This was Nick. So what you can see on the screen if you're listening is we've basically got an opening message from the woman, a couple of opening messages where this was a really interesting one, Teal, because this guy didn't have a bio. And it's a little bit of a, it's generally not recommended to deal with guys who don't have a bio. But I have found in this experiment, every now and then you strike gold. And basically what you're seeing on screen, if you're listening, is this guy, we sent him an opening message. He sent a message back that basically had a number of emojis. He clearly read the profile. He said, oh, he kind of took the joke and said, oh, I actually would have improved my profile to mention I'm a physicist and a space cowboy, but I already met you. You're so pretty. He asked 2 questions then, and then he immediately offers to jump on the phone and chat. And that is great behavior. Not writing a bio, not so good, but I thought this was a great little example of a guy who, hey, as the saying goes in Australia, we're not here to fuck spiders. Hey, let's get on with it. Let's go. Within 1.5 exchanges, we were on the phone and we were chatting.
Well, I think another part that you didn't highlight that I think is actually a really beautiful part of why he engaged so well is because of the way that you interacted as well, right? You responded with this lack of profile, not by being like, geez, why don't you have a profile? You're like, oh my God, I love your profile. So much detail. And I feel like I know you so well. No, ha, ha, ha. And just by coming in with that kind of flirtatious jokester kind of attitude, I think that really strikes a fun, playful engagement that then invites them in a very fun way. So I think that that's just a nice style on your part that women can also play into, right? When there isn't much to work with.
And you were talking about finesse last week, Teal. I love that. When you're calling a guy out on something you don't like, play is a great way to do it if you can. And when a guy doesn't have a bio, I would say 1 in 10 of them turn into really good conversations. Now, I'm not saying go hunt guys without bios. A lot of them are low effort and they are not good people to invest in. But I have definitely seen this particular guy was so lovely. I sent him the message that, hey, sorry, something's happened to me. I'm unavailable. And he sent this big thing. Hey, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? He really wanted to check in. So this guy was an absolute sweetheart, really genuine guy. And he was a bit of a diamond in the rough of the non-profile. So wanted to give a shout out to him. He called when he said he'd call. He followed up. Really, really great guy. And I got one more for you, Teal. I wanted to give a shout out. This guy's name was Ken. And the reason I wanted to give a shout out to Ken, so on the screen, guys, if you're listening, we actually opened this conversation. Our opening line was, Ken, you look like you're happy with life. Good on you. Our profile makes a joke about applying to be a boyfriend. So he said, is the role of boyfriend still open? We said, yes, it is. I do direct interviews. You can give me a call on this number. He exchanged his number, and before you know it, he'd given us a call and was following up. So I know these might seem like small little things initially, but these little things happen all the time during this experiment. So I want to give a shout out to some of these amazing gentlemen who pretty much say, hey, I like you. Let's chat. Let's go on a date. Let's call. Yes. I want to invest in you. And really from online, that's what we're looking for.
Yes, I love that. I love that.
Teal, let's move on to first date locations. Now we've gone through the cyber chivalry of the day. I'm curious for you, where's the best? Maybe it's somewhere you've been taken, or it could be somewhere you've heard a client going. First date locations. I'll talk first date here.
Yeah,
so of course, we've got to consider safety and things like that. First date location. What's your favorite and why?
Well, on our last episode, we talked about my worst first date location on the side of a freeway at midnight, right? That was sketch.
That was a treat. Yep.
I was thinking through, I'm like, I don't have any like really wowzer ones, but I will say probably the best first date I went on was just to go surfing at the beach. And for me, doing anything active is a great way to get to know someone without any pressure, especially something that you both enjoy, sharing a hobby, whether that's horseback riding, golfing, surfing, whatever it is, because it takes you out of your head. It brings you back into the moment. It puts you into what you already are enjoying doing. And it allowed me to just be at peace with the waves and go kind of do my own thing. And then we could catch up and talk in between sessions. And it just allowed it to be a very relaxed, fun, effortless date.
Did it lead to a second date on that occasion?
It did not, because I didn't like him, but
that is gold though, because I want to catch this, because Teal, you went on a date with a guy that ultimately you didn't like, and it was a really positive memory for you.
It was.
That's massive.
Yes.
That's
so
massive.
He was very awkward. So the bummer was I agreed to go surfing with him, but within 5 minutes, I realized meeting him, he was a very awkward person. And I had to sit for another hour in the ocean with him being very awkward. But the good part was I could kind of just go do my own thing and be like, oh, I'm catching a wave now. So
I could just paddle. Nice, nice. Well, I love that you made dating fun, and I love that. Did you suggest that, or did he out of interest?
A good point. It's a good question. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. I think we both had a mutual passion for surfing, so it just kind
Okay,
of
you
made
thought, let's do
sense.
that. That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of anything with movement. I
Yes.
love moving in my dates. I had a particular location back in Brisbane. We call it the Cliffs. And basically, it was probably a kilometer from my house, but it was very central. So everyone kind of knew it. The distance wasn't really why I liked it. What I liked about it was you had this kind of walk path and you could basically walk up it. There was a coffee shop and an ice cream shop and basically view the whole city from the top of the cliffs. And so I would go up there regularly because I said, you know what? I would go up here on my own. If I was just hanging out here for an hour, I could happily sit up here on my own, process thoughts, almost like a shower thought moment up there. So I thought, if I'm going to be up there anyway and enjoy myself, why not invite a date up there? She'll see me in my kind of natural environment. I'll be able to see if we vibe without anything particularly entertaining us. And it was just a beautiful scenic location. So that
Mm.
was one of my favorites. I had a movie world first date, which was a lot of fun. Have
What
you
is Movie
ever?
World? What
Oh,
is that?
it's. Do you guys not have that? I guess that you'd say it's basically Universal Studios at night,
Oh,
where it's
fun.
it's kind of a little bit horror themed, but it's like half kids, half adults. It can kind of go either way, but that was really fun. And then I've always had a soft spot. I've always enjoyed the energy around universities, actually. So I would often invite.
Hmm.
I've got some other ones actually. I forgot I used to do this actually. Is this weird? I used to explore schools. Maybe that wasn't a first date, actually, to be fair. Probably not a first date. Now, yeah, now I think about that, that wasn't
It's
a
like
first date.
shopping for schools. This is where our kids are gonna go.
It was more like, let's explore a private school to see how nice the facilities are and compare it to other private schools
Yeah,
for
you're
no
weird.
reason other than entertainment.
Total weirdo.
Don't trespass. We don't condone that. Um, there was one other one I wanted to add, which was universities. And I used to love taking a date out to universities. It often wouldn't it maybe be a first date if it was kind of nearby, but you can kind of go there. The area is beautiful. You can sneak into a biology class if you want. It's a bit of fun. You can kind of see what's going on. You can go to the library and sit in the library for a little bit. I love exploring and I love movement for first dates. So that was always kind of my big, let's find somewhere where we're moving around where we can actually enjoy it. And I have to say, this is one of the things about there. This is one of the things I loved about being a guy in the process is it's a little bit easier to direct the first date location. So as a woman, you need that finesse we've been talking about. As a man, we usually get to suggest it and it's not weird at all. So that was one of the things I enjoyed is, okay, I can move this to a first date that I want, and I'm going to have fun no matter who I'm with, just like you said at your surfing date.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And I think, as I've mentioned, I think before I was talking about this with a client too. The first date is purely just to have fun, just to see, can I enjoy myself in this person's presence? Because you can get to know someone so much if both people are just relaxed and having a good time.
Yeah.
But I think so often people are using this first date as this interview process of, do they have all the values? Do they meet all my needs? Do they have, all these things? And then it changes the whole dynamic of just getting to know that person in that
So
organic
I have a question that I think will be on the viewer's mind before we move on. What's your go-to when a man suggests coffee and they don't
process.
like coffee or drinks or dinner at a movie and the woman's sitting there going, I want him to ask me out, but I don't want to do that. Do you have a go-to tip for that situation?
So they're saying, "Hey, I'd love to take you out and go see dinner, go do dinner and a movie." And you're like, "I don't really like dinner and a movie."
Exactly.
Well, for me, I think it's all just about acknowledging the effort that's there, right? It's not so much about what specifically you guys are going to be doing. It's the fact that he is showing interest and wanting to take initiative to take you out. So I
Yep.
think regardless of what the thing is, really celebrating him, giving him lots of good doggy treats and praise. Wow, it feels so amazing that, you want to take me out. I am so excited about that. And then you can lead into, and you know what, movies aren't really my thing. But what would be really great is this, and then provide another alternative. And I
Yeah.
think that that gives men the feeling of, okay, she's clear about what she wants. Because at the end of the day, like I think you would agree, men want to make women happy, and they don't want someone that's just going to shove it down and kind of go through the motions if they're not enjoying it.
I love that. I love the line, would you be open to, straight after the appreciation. So what Teal's doing there is she's saying, reward the behavior that you want, which there's a lot of it there. He's taking initiative. He's asking you out. He's moving things forward. So it's mostly behavior that you want. And then there's one little thing that you don't want. So Teal's basically saying reward all the behavior that you want, tell the man that he's made you feel good by doing all of that, and then give a little bit of feedback or direction. You're like the GPS. You're not driving, but you're in the passenger seat saying, maybe left here. So I really like the line, would you be open to, for example, would you be open to a walk instead? Or would you be open to organizing a little activity for us with a cute emoji? Obviously, you don't want to say you should do this or you need to do this to meet my standards. That's going to feel very controlling. But if you can suggest, hey, this would be even better, would you be open to trying this while rewarding the behavior you want? The majority of men are going to take that really well.
Yes. And this just goes into really good practice from the moment you start communicating to be very clear about what feels good and what doesn't feel good. Because what I see so often happen is that women will just kind of hold back, not want to rock the boat, not want to make something a big deal if it's not really a big deal. But then they just start building up in their own self, like, oh, all these things that end up building up resentment towards this person. And the poor guy's like has no idea. So when we can get really comfortable about being very open about what feels good, what doesn't feel good, what would feel better, then the man doesn't feel like they have to walk on eggshells and not know when you're just going to blow up on them for some insignificant thing.
It
So it's a
makes you
really
safer.
important thing.
Yeah, it
Yes.
makes you safer, which is what Teal's speaking to there. Men seek emotional safety from women, I believe, a lot more than what most women realize. And
Yes.
so when you're open and honest, he understands where he's going well and where he's not. It's not kind of this mystery that could explode in his face. It's easy, direct, open feedback that he can, okay, I need to do this. I shouldn't do that. Here's how I get my doggy treat. Here's how I lose out on my doggy treat. It makes sense. And because it makes sense and he understands it, he feels safe in it. And that
Yes.
safety is really important to be able to deliver to a man. Do you agree, Teal?
Yes. And it has to start from the very beginning. Yes.
Yeah.
Whew, so that was a really good little tidbit there from
That
just a
was.
fun
We
date
went we went a
story.
bit on that. Shall we get into the big topic of the day?
Yes. So I am really curious to hear your thoughts on this, Mark, because I hear this a lot. And I think a lot of our listeners and watchers will probably also resonate with this. This question of Teal, Mark, I keep attracting men that I'm not interested in, but I can't seem to find any men that actually excite me. What would you say to that? Why do you think that's happening?
Yeah, I could talk for a long, long time on this, and often we'll do multiple sessions or even entire programs on this one question alone. I wanted to summarize just a few quick things because I'm really interested to hear from you on this as well. I think the first thing to remember is there is a level of naturalness to this in the human mating, breeding, whatever you want to call it, cycle. And that is to say, when you're not interested in a person, there's always going to be people who are trying to grab you. And naturally, we always want to grab certain people as well. So there's a level of sort of mate jockeying that's always going to be built into our biology. And it's one of those things, it's kind of, it happens until it doesn't. It's like if you're single right now, naturally, I mean, who wouldn't marry Prince William? Maybe there's a younger version of him out there, right? And but the point is, like, there's always going to be certain men that you look at and go, wow, imagine that. Wow. As long as you're single, they're going to be out there. And even if you're not single, you might still look at them quite attractively. And at the same time, there's always going to be men that look at you like that, that kind of put you on that height because they go, oh my God, imagine having a woman like that. Oh, so as long as you're single, there's always going to be a degree of this. And I think that's natural to human nature, because if you had everyone you could be attracted to, well, all of us would have either Prince Harry or, the most beautiful woman in the world. So naturally, we're going to end up in this situation anyway when we're single. But I think on a deeper level, there's a couple of things. The first is we tend to behave differently around the two different types of people. So around the people we're not as attracted to, I use the term non-dating a lot, as in NON, which stands for no outcome needed dating. When we're around
Mm.
people we're not attracted to, we tend to have no outcome needed. So we're very free, we're very exuberant, we're very present. We are not trying to escape reality. We're just sitting there, and the person goes, hey, that person's not trying to escape reality. I want to be a part of her reality. It must be great in there. And so all these people are coming towards you. Whereas what often happens is when we see the Prince William of the world, or just the guy you're really attracted to that you meet locally, suddenly you go, oh my God, imagine my life with him. It'd be so much better than my current reality. And you start getting in your head, trying to kind of formulate, oh, how do I get him? How do I maneuver it? What do I need to do? What do I need to say? How do I show up? So I think the way we behave can really change between those two groups of people. One, we're just sitting there, we're completely content in our reality. The other, we're in a sense trying to escape our reality via that person, which makes them pull away. So the types of behavior that we do around the two is a big one. And then the other one is just if there's an energetic mismatch. I mean, sometimes a client might come to me and say, I really want this trait. And I'll say, are you embodying that trait? And often the answer is no. Now, in some of these traits, you need to embody the equal but the opposite. So, for example, if a woman says, well, I want a man who's really, really decisive, that's an example of an opposite trait where to have a man who's really decisive, usually you need to be very trusting. You're going to balance that trait out. But other traits, financial responsibility might be an example, health might be an example. You basically need to embody the trait you want to attract. And so if you're not in an energetic space where, let's say you've been neglecting your health for a long time because of some sort of internal shame, and then you say, I really want a man who's, top 5% of health, that's going to be a hard guy to get because he doesn't have the same shame holding him back as you. So if you're in the bottom 50% in terms of health because you've got something holding you back, I'm talking especially something internal, emotional blocks, which is really why most of us get held back in the health zone versus someone who doesn't have those holdbacks. You have to ask, is he going to choose you? And the same would be true in reverse. Is a woman going to choose you, that type of man in reverse? So I think those are two of the big things that I wanted to point out. I have a lot of thoughts, but the different behaviors between those two groups of people and you basically not embodying the trait that you want to attract in the people that you are attracted to, those are the biggest two personal ones that aren't just a generalized human thing. Teal, I've been talking a lot. What are your thoughts on this? Really curious.
Yes, I absolutely love what you said. And I think another piece to add on to that is just when we are looking for someone that to us seems like that high quality man, right? That's the term that we tend to put these men this category in. Sometimes it's not even something that we're cognizantly aware of. We're saying, oh, I want this person, but really deep within ourselves, there's some sort of energetic block of believing that we're worthy of having that. And so when we go out there, our brain's like, I want this. I have this really high standard and I don't want to settle for anything less than that. But internally, we don't actually believe that we can have that level in that kind of person and whatever they represent, whether it's emotional safety or, looks or whatever it is. And so very much alluding to what you were saying, you really asking yourself, who is the woman, the person that I have to become that would be a match, that would make that kind of man want to be with you? And that kind of woman is a woman that is very self-assured, very emotionally open and vulnerable and intimate, can make a man feel safe, like really deepening into what are those qualities and characteristics that that kind of man would really want. So if that's not becoming your reality right now, it's really a mirror that the universe is saying something in your frequency and your energy is not causing you to be a match for that. And this was something that I directly saw in my own life for a very long time. I got caught up in this pattern of just meeting a ton of men that I just wasn't really excited about and attracted to, or I'd be attracted to different pieces of them, but not the full piece. And it made me so frustrated. And it wasn't until I really did some deeper work within myself and looked at like, what's going on in here, that I realized that I was actually not as emotionally open and vulnerable as I thought I was. And so I was attracting these men, like you were saying, that felt safe, that felt easy, that I was just kind of like, I can be myself around. But when it was a man that really got me excited, my walls would come up and I would close and I would shut down. And so it wasn't that I wasn't able to attract the high quality men. It was just that those high quality men would see me and then they'd keep drifting away because there wasn't that full factor of like, yes, she's ready, she's there, she's present. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's 100% true because at the end of the day, the man who is open, ready, and available for a relationship, especially the good ones, they're not waiting 3 months after meeting you for you to be open, ready, and available. They have enough options, or they're able to at least find enough options that they're looking for someone who's on a similar trajectory to them from where they're starting so that they can build together with you. And unfortunately, what happens is sometimes you're not seeing them because your bandwidth might be taken up by the wrong guy or you're getting too focused on the wrong thing. And these guys drift across the background, kind of like an extra in a movie. You don't really notice them. but I guarantee they've been there, they've been around. And the more you open yourself up, slow down, start to become curious about who could be a match, open your heart, be affected by men, and really practice being in your feelings and giving feedback, those men will recognize that and say, basically say, okay, this woman is open, she is solid, she is safe, she is reliable. They're going to energetically match with that. And really, at the end of the day, you are what you attract.
And yes, and I loved what you had mentioned earlier about that non-attachment energy of what you notice when you're not actually with a man that you're excited about, because this is the best tidbit I can give to any women that are really trying to practice this. And this is something that actively switched me out of being stuck in that pattern to attracting now my husband, was I literally used that same tactic every time I was with a man that I loved or got excited about. I was like, okay, I know that this is what makes me attractive, is when I'm not attached to them and I'm not excited about them and I'm not caring or I'm not thinking about it. I'm acting like I would if I wasn't into them. And I really try to almost reprogram my brain to say, I'm going to show up in that same kind of energy with those men right now, because that is the most authentic version of me. That's when I'm not overthinking things. And that's what makes the difference, because they can feel that authentic energy than rather this closed, distorted energy that you're bringing.
And just to add one practical thing to that, Teal's not saying fake disinterest or not give a fuck. She's saying qualify the men. Remember, you're the chooser. They're not just waiting for you're not just waiting for them to choose you. You're seeing if you want to choose them. That's a big piece. But second, you're still invested in them in the sense that you're giving them feedback as you go along. I think when people say don't be attached to the outcome, it makes people think, oh, I need to be avoidant in dating and just give zero fucks. And there is an element of that kind of on the surface, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you just lean back and say whatever and be totally distant and unattached from the process. You're in the process. You're opening your heart in the process. You're giving that feedback, positive, negative, to guys. So you're very active in the process. You're just not attached to the process. So don't confuse disattachment with inactivity and distance. Just because you're not attached to the outcome, you're still very active. You're still very in the process. Your heart is still very open. And I think that's the key differential, so that we're not just giving avoidant dating advice here.
Thank you. That's a really great clarification. And yes, 100%. You're still very much being your authentic, open self. We're just telling that little part of the mind, I call it the crazy girl. We're telling the crazy girl that she can just sit in the corner for today and that we don't need to worry about this. We don't need to freak out about this. We can just be our authentic self, and then we can analyze it afterwards later.
Teal, you said that very, very well. It has been a pleasure having you on the podcast today. Thank you for joining me. Guys, if you want to give us a review, hit us with 5 stars on the relevant podcast app, and we look forward to chatting to you on the next episode. This has been Mark. Teal, thanks for being here.
See you guys later. Bye.